Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today, we've got something fairly special. In fact, we've got two fairly special videos, and this one in particular is very near and dear to me, because this was a video I made 3 years ago. So there's going to be two going up. One is about the current channel, about the future, about some new plans and rather large topics that I really want to be able to share with you guys. It's kind of looking to the future. And then there's this video, which is looking to the past, looking at, in some ways, where this all started. There'll be a link to the other one in the description. I sincerely recommend you check it out. But this video is something I've never really talked about. In fact, it's one video of a large series revolving around the first press beta for GW2. So now, people don't know that I was a part of this, and I wasn't allowed to upload any footage from it. 3 years ago was a long time. Nobody really knew about Wooden Potatoes. There were a couple of good videos we'd done. I was mostly doing the GW1 Let's Play. Specifically with the press beta, ArenaNet were more interested in inviting people like Total Biscuit and the Yogscast and Jesse Cox and genuinely successful YouTubers. So I was in this beta and I did something kind of cheeky. I knew I wasn't supposed to be uploading anything, but I did some recording anyway. What can I say? I was super excited, it was fresh, it was new, and making videos was fun. This would be good practice for my planned Guild Wars 2 Let's Play, even if I didn't get to use it. But also, I guess, just on the off chance that maybe, one day, they'd let me show it off. So I kept it. I know I'm crazy. This is a long time to wait for the potential of uploading a video, but I'm happy to say that today, at last, that time has come. I spoke to NCSoft and they specifically said, yeah, it would be okay. And I do want to point out, actually, that that's incredibly awesome, and it's only because of that we get to see this, so they totally deserve some credit there. And I thought, since it's the 3rd anniversary of Guild Wars 2, let's pretend it's still the 3rd anniversary and I'm not a day late because they had a ton of other announcements related to Heart of Thorns. I thought it'd be a really cool thing to look back at. So at the start of this video, 3-year-old me is going to say to you, oh, I've already played the game extensively. I hadn't. I'd played a little bit of the beta already, and I knew, a lot of stuff because I've been following the release very closely, but I really didn't know everything. What's going to be very interesting here is seeing my attempts to teach you guys a lot about the game as it was back then. So you're going to see my different opinions, my launch opinions. You're going to see how things changed. You're going to find a bunch of old systems. You're going to see different setups of things in Queensdale. You're going to see original implementation of events and hearts. You're going to see the old graphics options. You're going to see the old circular minimap, the old dodge roll UI. You're going to see tons of different stuff. Previous ranger balance. You're going to notice as well that my voice is totally different. It was a different microphone, of course, but I seem to have lost a lot of my Britishness. And I always notice that on previous videos. You guys will probably have a bit of a laugh looking at that. It should be a pretty good time. So in celebration of that, in celebration of 3 years of Wooden Potatoes of Guild Wars 2, sit back with a cup of tea. Hopefully it'll be interesting. I know it's a long video. It's just 1 hour out of 12 that I was playing solidly. And if there's a lot of demand to put up the rest of them, then that's totally something we can do. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I'll be sitting down and watching this myself, and rather wide-eyed at that. All right, enough preamble. Let's jump in. Hi guys, and welcome to my 12-hour Guild Wars 2 beta marathon. Yeah, I'm going to be sitting here for 12 hours straight, playing the game the whole time. I'm going to record everything I do in game, and we're going to be finding as much stuff as I possibly can. I've actually already played the game extensively, so I already know where a lot of things are, and what I'm hoping to do is make this the most comprehensive, extensive view at all of the content that's in Guild Wars 2 in this beta. So what we're going to be doing is starting off with a human character, and I'm going to get 100% completion on every single map I can actually get to within that 12-hour period. And if we finish the human areas, then we'll start up another character and we'll begin in those areas as well. There's certain things in Guild Wars 2 that you can find in all the different areas, and obviously a lot of things to find. So those are exactly what we're going to be looking for. So let's log in and create our first character. So when you log into the client, if you haven't got any characters already created, it just automatically throws you into this. This is character creation. You can play 3 races in the beta at the moment. The Asura and the Sylvari are both locked out, but you can go to a hell of a lot of areas to do with these 3 races here. So what we're going to do is create our human. Humans have lost their homeland, their security, and their former glory. Even their gods have withdrawn, and yet the human spirit remains unshaken. These brave defenders of Kryta continue to fight with every ounce of their strength. Obviously, if you guys know about my channel, I know a lot about the story, and I'm hoping to talk about the story quite a lot here. I'm going to sort of go from the basis that you might not know that much about it, and we'll talk about different topics as we come to them throughout the marathon. And hell, we've got 12 hours, so we should have plenty of time. So you get to make male or a female. I'm actually going to go with a female, because on our channel we've never really had a female yet, so we've always been male. So let's go female. And here's the profession screen. There are 8 professions. They're all very distinct from one another. I'm probably going to do some kind of a video series about all the individual professions. I'm not going to give you an overview of them all straight away. I just kind of want to get in game. So what we're going to do, I've already played a hell of a lot of them, but I haven't played Ranger yet. So I figured, you know, Ranger's a class that lots of people will enjoy watching, and it gets the pets, which is another dynamic to all the different things you can find in the world. So hey, let's go with a Ranger. Rangers are proficient with the bow. They rely on a keen eye, a steady hand, and the power of nature to slay their targets. They're loyal pets, which rangers tame and train, distract enemies while the rangers strike safely from a distance. These guys wear medium armor. The professions have different armor classes. There are 3 of them, but we'll get into that later. So now you actually get to customize the way your guy looks. And oh my god, there are a lot of options here. I'm not going to piss around with this too long. I swear, we could spend an hour at least doing this. There's probably going to be a whole load of videos out there already of all the different things that you can customize. I'm not really the kind of player that cares that much about this kind of stuff, but I know a hell of a lot of people do. When I actually make my first character, for real, when it's not in the beta, I'll definitely... Wow, that's some pale skin. I'll definitely be spending a lot of time on this. A lot of people kind of want them to release an early game character creation, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, there is a hell of a lot of stuff that you can do here. I'm not going to spend too long on it again, because wow, look at those eyes. Because I kind of want to get in the game, so I'm just going to pick some random crap here. The best thing about this, really, is your armor die section down here. Each piece of armor, at the start of the game, you've kind of got 3 sections. You've got your upper, your lower, and your footwear. And each piece can be dyed in multiple different places in different colors. So footwear, that's only 2 places, but these 2 areas, you can actually dye in 3 different colors. So for example, we could go red for the bulk of the upper armor, and then we could go white for that bit. You know, it looks very distinct. And then we can add nice little bits of purple for the detail. I tend to, when I'm doing this, just always pick the same scheme over and over. Which one of those is it that I picked? I tend to pick the same scheme over and over and over. I suppose you could be really creative with this, and I guess this is kind of what I will probably spend most of the time doing when the game launches. This is the thing that really you could spend a long time on, because not only does this just affect your starting armor like it did in Guild Wars 1 and lots of other MMOs, this scheme here you've picked actually will carry through to all other armor sets you've chosen. So this will be like you for most of the game. You can obviously re-dye stuff when you get in game, but this is going to make you look distinct straight from the start of the game from everyone else, because there's just so many different combinations, and it will continue to remain that way even after you get your first set of armor. You know, in most MMOs everyone ends up looking the same after they reach kind of level 10 because they pick their new armor. Well, here that's not a problem. It's really, really cool. And obviously you can spend a long time doing it. There's quite a few options here. But yeah, again, this isn't going to be about character creator too much. I'll probably do a whole video on that later day. So as a ranger, our next choice is we actually get to pick what pet we have. So rangers, they're the pet profession in Guild Wars 2. Really, that is everything that they are to do with. And you get 3 that you can pick from the off. Obviously, there's loads of different pets. You can pick a bear, you can pick a stalker. These were both Guild Wars 1 pets. Or you can pick a drake. In the first game, there were some NPCs that had drakes as pets, but players could never have drakes as pets. So you could never, ever have it. But now you can, so I'm totally picking a drake. I always wanted a drake. So I tamed my drake when it was a hatchling. Now it follows me everywhere. It's proven itself a relentless and powerful friend. So the next choice we get will determine our personality type. So we get charm, dignity, or ferocity to choose from. Now these will affect the kind of things that you can say to NPCs in conversations. However, you can also have options to say all kinds of different things in conversations that will alter these values as you play through the game. So for example, I could make myself a ferocious character right now, but the truth is when I get in game I can then act like a really charming bastard, and then all of a sudden that will be my highest value and I'll get those conversation options. So in essence, really, this is one of those options in Character Creator that won't necessarily stay with you for a really long period of time throughout the game. But it is really cool anyway. I'm going to go, I don't know, I usually just pick Dignity, honestly. I've never played oh no, I did play a Ferocious character. I played a Ferocious Thief a while ago. So yeah, Dignity. Let's hit next. So now we get to pick where we were raised. We can say we were in the streets, we can say it was by common folk, accidentally clicked through that because I double clicked, or we can say we were raised among the nobility. I've already done on the streets and by common folk. What you choose here isn't just a minor bit of fluff for your character's biography, it will actually change the storyline when you get in game, which is really cool. So we're going to say that we grew up among nobles, including my friend Lord Farron, who can trace their ancestry back to ancient kings. I received an excellent education and well versed in courtly graces and understand the responsibility that comes with privilege. I'm not sure that really suits a ranger, but in any case. Well, and then we get to choose one of our biggest regrets. Also changes the storyline. I've already said that I never joined the circus, and I've already said that I've never found my sister's body, so we're going to see this storyline. So what we're going to be doing in the marathon, I do know a lot of stuff already, but we're going to be coming across some new stuff as well, so you guys get to kind of experience the game with me for my first time through some of this content, which should be pretty cool. So, unknown parents. When I was an infant, I was abandoned at an orphanage. A kind couple adopted me and became my family. However, I've always wondered about my real parents. Now we get to choose the god we're blessed by. We've got all 6 of the original Guild Wars gods that you can choose here. My favourite in the first game was always Lissa, so I've just been picking that every single time. However, we are a ranger, so maybe Melange is a little bit more fitting, so we'll go with that. Then we get a summary of everything we've chosen. Melange, the goddess of nature, blessed me when I was young. Though trouble may follow me, I overcome it with dignity. I grew up among nobility, and I value my honour. I've made something of myself, and the only thing I regret is that I never searched for my true parents. I'm a ranger, and I have a drake that fights by my side and guards my back. This is my story. So, it should be pretty cool. I've already got a name sorted out. If you guys have been watching my channel before this, you'll probably recognise the kind of name that I've got here. I like it. This is our first female character, so what do you expect of me? Let's go in. So, we get a nice little cutscene here that actually changes depending on what we just chose in character creation, which is really cool.
The human race once ruled Tyria. Now, we struggle to hold our ground. We've been defeated, driven back, and broken. But we will not surrender. So many nations have fallen. Only Krita still stands. Our faith is strong, despite the silence of the 6 gods. With courage, we'll make our stand in divinity's reach. The city is my home. I was born into luxury, a noble of divinity's reach. And privilege comes with responsibility. I protect the commoners under my care. They believe in me. I'm grateful for their trust, and I will not let them down. Today, I plan to venture beyond the gates of the city and see the world for myself. But when I arrived in Shaymor, I found the town under siege by centaurs. Innocent villagers are in danger. Someone has to help. I will show the people that we can triumph, that there is still hope. This is my story.
God, I'm already chugging away water. I've got like 2 massive bottles of water here for this marathon. It's just ridiculous, and I've already drank about a third of the first one, so I'm probably going to be going to the toilet a hell of a lot. But okay, so we get a loading screen here. Defense of Shaymor. The village of Shaymor nestles against the wall of Divinity's Reach. Centaur raids have become increasingly aggressive of late, and the Seraphs struggle to protect the haggard villagers. Only the brave or foolhardy would venture out during a Centaur assault. So what we're starting here really is a small instanced area where we can find other people, but it's separate from the rest of the game essentially. It acts as a tutorial zone. The loading screens are a little bit annoying in that a lot of them are long, but the game also doesn't have too many of them, and I can always cut them out anyway. So finally, we are in game. Hello, welcome to Tyria, everyone. I love how we kind of start here because it's very similar to how you started in the first game. You're kind of just thrown into the action here. We've got our Drake here, are amazing. And yeah, you can run forward and this guy, Corporal Bane, will speak to us. Or is that Burn? Yeah, Corporal Byrne will speak to us. So you can hit F to speak to him, and he says, everybody get to the inn. We can protect you at the inn. In previous versions of the game, we actually saw he said something else. I don't think you actually had to speak to him before. But what you had to do was come over to villagers, speak to them, and tell them to get to the inn. And you had to, like, find 3 of them to do it. Now, that's not actually a requirement of this quest anymore. You just keep going over to them, and you'll get karma as rewards for doing so. Really, you can run straight to the inn immediately if that's what you so desire to do. And I think you can skip fighting any centaurs that are actually around here. You'll find we're just outside the walls of the sea, as the loading screen did say, and yes, that is a very big wall. We'll be spending a fair bit of time in the early hours of this marathon around this area when we actually get out of this instance, because there's a hell of a lot of things to say and talk about to do with the place. But I'm just going to find a few villagers as we can as we head over to the inn. A lot of them do have unique dialogue, which is really cool. I'll be reading out a fair bit of dialogue, hopefully. A lot of it's very interesting. Some of it's just minor fluff, really, but we'll see how much really we can be talking about as we go through. Oh gods, I've never been so afraid. Go to the inn, you'll be safe there. They pretty much all say something very similar to that, so we'll keep on going. Let's actually do some fighting. So Guild Wars 2 fighting. I'm not sure kind of how I should be talking to you guys. I don't know whether I should assume you know a lot about the game or not, but Guild Wars 2 combat is very different to combat than you will have seen in any existing MMOs. I know Terra's got pretty damn action-oriented combat as well, but out of MMOs that are out at the moment, it's very, very different. Basically, you'll find you can move constantly, no matter what skills you are using. The combat is very, very different. It's very fluid. It's very fun as well. There's a lot of different intricacies to it and different things to think about. They are quite clever, really, with how they start you out with the combat, getting you used to it, because they don't unlock all of your skills immediately. Skills change depending on what weapon you've got equipped. So at the start, as you can see, we only had 1 skill just now. We killed a few enemies and we've earned a second one, but that will slowly grow, and as we earn new weapons, we'll find all kinds of different things that eases you into the balance of how things work. But we'll move into this inn here, and now we get a new objective to speak to Sergeant Walters. I'm going to have a quick chat with some of these NPCs. What I've done with playing before is that my first time through, I spoke to everyone. I did absolutely everything, but I've tried to not do it for a while, just so that I can kind of re-remember as we go through. Has anyone got anything good to say? None of them have even speaking. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll speak to Sergeant Walters. And we get a nice little... These are kind of mini cutscenes, I suppose, but they will appear all over the place, and they're for dialogue.
There are more centaurs on the other side of town. Captain Thackeray's calling for reinforcements at the garrison.
If he's calling for help, it must be serious, but I can't spare anyone.
I'll go. Captain Thackeray's never failed Divinity's Reach. If I can help him, I will.
Balthazar bless you. That's the spirit that'll win this war. Good luck.
So, yeah, if you saw up in the top right-hand corner, there was a little golem there and a sign saying work in progress. Apparently they are still being worked on, those little cutscenes. You might recognise them as seeming quite similar to what SWTOR's been doing, except in that game the camera moves a lot more and there's a lot more kind of going on with those scenes. I don't know how much they will change those scenes before the actual release of the game, but right now I think they're functional at the very least. I find it quite funny that they've had to put work in progress there, because I can imagine that's something a lot of people will probably end up complaining about. But yeah, so we need to get to the garrison. We need to find Captain Thackeray. We're just going to fight our way through here. We're killing Tamini as we go. The loot system's quite interesting. You'll see me as I kill some enemies. Enemies don't specifically drop things on the floor. The game's very much designed around the idea that you shouldn't be competing with other players for loot or for experience or anything like that. So as long as you kind of get a hit in on an enemy, even if your friend kills that enemy, you'll still get credit for it. You'll still have a chance at a drop. And they all kind of drop their own private loot for you instead of just dropping it on the floor for everyone in the game to see, which I think works quite well. Obviously, you do miss out on something there that your friend will never see when you get some amazing little drop, but it does work reasonably well. What I love about this Drake is it's like walking in front of me. That's so cool. It's like predicting where I'm going to be moving. You can control your pet quite explicitly using these commands here above my skill bar. You can tell it to attack your target and use specific skills. I'm not sure how much the pets are still being developed at the time of recording this. I know that the last thing they said was that the pets weren't exactly where they wanted them to be. A lot of the time you'll find that your pet's dead on the floor. I'm hoping this Drake won't be dead on the floor the whole time, but we'll see how it goes. You can actually have more than one pet as well, and I believe there's an elite skill that lets you have 3 pets out at once. Very, very interesting. Generally, there's a lot going on with the combat system, and what you're doing as a ranger will change significantly depending on how much you want. Well, I guess you can always focus on your pet, but really it's your weapon. As you change your weapon, like you could use a greatsword, and that will really change obviously how you play as a ranger, because you're no longer just standing around at the back shooting with a bow as you might expect other rangers or hunters that you might find in other games to be. Anyway, so here's the garrison over here. You can see all these centaurs charging through. This is our first dynamic event. As you just saw there, it said new event nearby. What you might want to focus on while you're watching this is the top right-hand corner of my screen. That's where generally all of the information about dynamic events comes through. While in other MMOs you get quest logs that talk about things that are going on and specific markers to go. You do still get something similar to that in Guild Wars 2 in the way of your personal story, but most normal traditional MMO quests do not exist in this game, as I'm sure you're well aware if you've known anything about Guild Wars 2 before watching this video. Instead you get these dynamic events, and think of them as being like quests that, among many other things, such as actually have an impact on the world, will automatically add to your quest log and automatically leave it as you approach an area where an event's occurring or leave an area where an event's occurring. So right now we're in an event, right? You look up here and it says defend the gate. It says hold the gate until the door's open. And that's literally what we have to do. There are things assaulting the garrison here. We stand here and we wait. In other MMOs, you might like speak to an NPC who will say, "Oh, the centaurs are attacking the garrison," and you say, "Okay," and then you kill 10 of them, and they're not really attacking anything. Here, you'll see the centaurs are attacking. This is a huge theme of the game, and as you see as we go through, it becomes a lot more complicated and a lot more interesting than just centaurs attacking a single location like this. Obviously this is the personal story area though. This is the tutorial zone at the start, so I don't expect anything too complicated just yet, but I think it will impress you anyway. All of the starting areas that we've seen of the races have got something pretty incredible in store for them at the end of the tutorial zone. And we're actually coming up on this. Basically what we're going to do is complete this event and then see what happens. Anyway, I'm not using my other skill so much. So our skill 2 is Split Blade. Don't forget, I've never played a ranger before, so I'm kind of learning how to play a ranger with you guys. So this one will throw a spread of whirling axes. Okay, so we've got an axe equipped, of course. We've also got a skill here called Winter's Bite. Throw an axe to chill your foe. And this also affects our pet. Our pet's next attack inflicts weakness. So this is something they talked about a while ago. In that ranger skills will actually have an impact on what your pet is doing. There's like synergy between you and your pet depending on what skills you're using, which is really cool. So we'll have to see how that goes. As you can see, we've defended it and now we can get inside the garrison. We've got an event succeeded. We got a gold reward for that. I'll talk more about dynamic event rewards later, what we specifically got there. Now we can get inside the garrison. We can speak to some guys. We could have actually spoken to the gate guard out there before the garrison was open, but here's Logan Thackeray, the man we were looking for. He says there's no time to waste, focus on the centaurs. And a whole load of centaurs come in. These events actually scale depending on how many people are around. So right now, how many people have we got? Yeah, these are real players, by the way. They aren't all NPCs. These guys are NPCs, but this is a person. These are all people we're playing with. They're all around here. And depending on how many more appear, obviously it's going to make it easier, right? Because they're going to be killing the centaurs faster. So the more that appear, the more centaurs will come. I'm not 100% sure how the balance really works here. Sometimes I feel like a lot of the events when they scale up, enemies just get a lot more beefy, but not necessarily more dangerous, which can make it feel slightly kind of grindy a lot of the time. But hey, it's beta. They're obviously going to be balancing these things out. And this is the first time, really, they've had a chance to see what the game's going to be like with loads of players all over the place. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. It's not that bad, don't get me wrong. It's still pretty good. As you can see, we're slaughtering the centaurs. But I don't really feel like I'm at much risk, while when you're playing it and there's only a couple of people around there, or maybe you're the only one, I get the feeling it feels a lot more dangerous because there's a bigger chance that the centaurs will target you. I definitely can't say that all events work like that. Obviously, not all events are combat events, just like not all quests in traditional MMOs are to do with combat either. Anyway, so we defeat the normal hordes, and then this huge guy comes in, the champion Modnir High Sage. We are destroying him, and we're gonna have to kill him to complete the event. But just before we can, he does some crazy earth thing, knocks everyone to the side, and runs off before we can actually finish him off. So we chase him, of course, over the bridge to try and finish him off. And I think everybody else comes. This is quite cool. I always like to see how many players actually do cotton on that we need to be chasing the centaur. Nothing tells you to do that. You're just reacting to the moment. But when we get over there, he summons something.
By all 6 gods, what is that thing? It's huge!
That, soldier, is a threat. We're going to take it down.
Yes, that is a threat. That's an earth elemental. We've seen this boss quite a lot back at the convention demos and things like this. A lot of this content has already obviously been shown. But I'm not sure. I think they did say that you would find stuff like this later in the game as well. I'm very curious to see if these become a more typical enemy later in the game. I think that would be awesome. But then again, if they did become more regular enemies later on, then hey, it kind of lessens how impactful this starting area is, because it feels less significant, because hey, you're just going to be killing them later. Anyway, so the boss fight itself I've generally had quite a lot of fun with. If you're playing a melee character, when you get up close to this thing, it will knock you back, it will throw you around, so it doesn't really suffer from the problem a lot of giant bosses do. In a lot of games, not just MMOs, a lot of games have a problem where if they make a huge boss like this, a huge amazing boss, you tend to just be hacking away its shins, and that's kind of it. But I think they've been quite clever with this, really, because you can't really stand around for too long before all of a sudden it's throwing you back, and you're encouraged to run around and revive your friends that get knocked down, like these guys here, for instance. Well, no, they weren't dead, they'd just been fallen over. But, you know, NPCs tend to die a lot in this fight. You've got these AoEs hitting down on the floor that you constantly want to be dodging out of the way of. He adds different enemies to the area, like for instance these earth elementals, and as far as I can see, whatever you choose to do, whatever you choose to fight, you will be able to get decent reward for actually completing the fight. So here you can see we're reviving this guy, and the game will factor in everything you've done to help out with this event, and you will be awarded appropriately. So you do get a choice. You don't just have to run around smashing at shins of things, because I mean, this boss is well balanced, it knocks you away, but who's to say that other bosses won't necessarily be so good. But yeah, it definitely does seem like with most of these events and a lot of the tasks that we'll see later, there's something else in the game called Heart quests, which we'll be doing later, or I think they call it the renown system, and in those in particular you get all kinds of different choices to make progress through the game, which is really, really awesome. Something else about the boss fight, obviously, is you've got two hands that you can fight. You've got a hand on the left and you've got a hand on the right. It looks like none of us are really focusing. They're both just quite low on health. If we'd all focused on one and killed one hand, I'm sure the boss fight would have been easier, or it would have been faster to kill it, or a little bit more appropriate. Is the Drake dead? I think the Drake's dead. Or is he just low on health? No, he's just very low on health. What can I do here then? Let's have a look. So we can tell him to attack our target. Use lightning breath. Okay, cool. So we can try and do that. That does 10 damage apparently. We can tell him to guard us as well, and that's about it. I was under the impression you'd learn more commands as you kind of played through the game. Like for instance, pets can level up and evolve in various different ways, and you'll get different skills. Talk about that later. Anyway, there we go. That's the elemental down.
I think it's going to explode.
And yes, it explodes, and debris goes everywhere, and it knocks you out. And that is exactly what takes you out of the opening instance of the game.
Where am I? What happened?
You were injured when the elemental exploded. Captain Thackeray brought you here personally. You've been unconscious for 3 days.
You had lots of visitors. Villagers you rescued, some seraph, even a noble from the city. He came by several times.
That'd be Lord Farron. He's a good friend. I'll check in with him once I'm fully recovered. What should I do now?
Fresh air and exercise are the best medicine. The goddess Dwayna helped you. Perhaps you could help others?
Thanks, I will. And thanks for taking such good care of me.
Bless you. You'll find plenty to do out in the valley. May Dwayna protect you.
Alright, so there we go. That is the first step of our personal story complete. Because it is beta and they do want feedback from the players, what they're going to be doing is throwing these things up. I'm going to be judging it and rating it as I go through. I've already played it a few times, so it's kind of affected my perception of it. But generally, I still do think the opening's very fun. I do think it's very exciting because of the boss that's there. I think it's pretty easy, honestly. I mean, we didn't really run into any trouble there. But then again, it is just a starter area, so I usually vote 3 on that. And as for characters, I don't really think we met any interesting characters at all, so I go with a 2. I do usually leave a lot of comments as well, but I'm not going to be doing this marathon sitting here typing away, so we'll just submit that and continue on. So every time you complete a story step, you actually get this little shield here, very reminiscent of what we experienced in Guild Wars 1 if you guys played that game, and you actually get to pick your rewards, which isn't something you ever really got in Guild Wars 1. You always get one specific reward, but then you get to choose your other one. So what I'm going to do is get a war horn, because then we can equip that to us offhand, and these 2 skills here, skill 4 and skill 5, will actually change to reflect that. So let's do that.
Welcome to the big time.
We can hit I, of course, to view our inventory. We've already got a load of stuff. You can equip bags here. You get different bags with different amounts of slots. Generally, I think inventory management's okay on the game. I don't find myself fiddling around with it too much. But I am aware that if you're going heavily into crafting, which isn't something I've really looked at, but I'm hoping to in this marathon here, we're going to learn it as we go. I have heard that when you do crafting, it can become pretty hectic with your inventory and bank space and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we've got that, and what we're going to do here also is press H. This is our hero window. Of course, that's our name. We're a level 2 ranger, and here you've got what you've got equipped. You've got, this is your main hand, and this is your offhand. So we'll drag the warhorn into the offhand. We see our skills change. So now there's 2 more here. We haven't unlocked them yet, obviously, because we need to kill things to get experience to unlock them. Generally, the later skills on your bar take long to unlock, which is interesting, I guess. I generally feel like if they consider killing something with ricochet 5 times enough to learn a new skill, why can't they consider using Spitblade 5 times to get the next one, and so on the whole time? But it does take longer each time. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not something I'm necessarily complaining about that much, but still, it's something to note. So yeah, there you go. We are basically in the overworld now. I'm going to tell you guys straight away what's happening with this marathon here is I'm going to be editing in constantly all different information, bits of trivia, tips, things that might not happen while I'm going through the game. Obviously, everything about the world is quite dynamic. You're not necessarily going to see all of the content when you go there. So I'm going to be putting in information about all the different events that are going on as we go through. Hopefully, that won't be too intrusive having that kind of stuff on the screen. And things like NPCs as well tend to have lots of different conversations, but as I'm running past them, we won't necessarily see them talking, so that will also be something that will be appearing. Also, in addition to that, I thought it might be fun. I started this at about 10 o'clock. What I'm going to be doing is editing on a little timer there for you guys, so that as we go through, you can see what time of the day it is as I'm going through. It will probably be like at the start of each episode and the end, so that we can kind of feel a sense of continuity here as I sit on my arse all day. But yeah, here we go. So we are in basically the sick bay, I suppose. This place is being run by the priests of Dwayne. Dwayne is one of the human gods that was particularly associated with monking and healing and protecting people in the first game, and that's carried through to the second game, of course. All the lore is intact for the second game. So we can speak to this priestess who we spoke to in the cutscene. She says, "Forgive me, I must attend to the wounded. May Dwayne hasten your convalescence." We can speak to all the people on the floor as well. This is our first example of what I was talking about in character creation, where you get to choose what kind of ways you speak to people. You can speak to them charismatically, ferociously, you can speak to them with dignity, and you can just make these choices as you go through the game. That elemental nearly took my head off when it exploded. I had no idea the centaurs had that kind of magic. So I guess the story here is that all the players in the area had the same thing happen to them. Obviously, it doesn't explicitly say that, because that would be a bit ridiculous that everyone got knocked out, but still, I mean, like, Thackeray supposedly didn't get knocked out, and we've been unconscious for a really long time, but that's kind of the story they're going with here. And we're going to say, what did we pick at the start? Dignity or charm? We can press H to have a look at these values here. So as you can see, we're being described as honourable, and that's because we picked dignity at the start, which is the bar that's at the highest. So let's just go with that. Depending on what value these 3 bars have got, it will give you a different title. So right now we're honourable, but you can be all kinds of different things, which is quite cool. So I'll try and remember to keep an eye on that. Thanks for your encouragement. I'm proud to have fought by your side. A few interesting people to speak to here. My patrol was the first to respond when the centaurs showed up. I'm the only one still alive. All my friends are gone. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know it's hard, but I'm sure you'll find your way again. Be brave. So a big thing about the humans around here is the fact that they are struggling. They really are struggling. The first game they were all over the world, but now they're pushed back, and they've got centaurs and all kinds of different problems to deal with. If we leave the intro room, we can actually find this guy here who says, "Oh, come over here and speak to us." This man is what is known as a scout, and he'll give us information about the various different places that we can go in the world. Because where there are no traditional quests, giving players direction is something that they've had to deal with in different various ways. I actually think the game lacks a lot of direction. I think it really is lacking certain things, but we'll talk about that as we go through. So we'll speak to Rebek.
The fields around Shaymore are Kryta's breadbasket. We all work hard to get what we need, but it's dangerous when bandits and even the wildlife have it out for you. We'd welcome any help you could give.
So I always find it a little bit hard to focus on what the person's saying, as well as all those little text boxes that appear on the bottom. But what it's doing here is marking these little hearts on our map for us. This is the renown system I was talking about before. These hearts dictate specific areas where you can go to help certain people out. They also point out areas where there are a lot of events that are likely to be happening. Events aren't always happening in the areas, so there is a problem there that you can go to a heart area and help out an NPC by doing rudimentary tasks like feeding cows and stuff, as we'll see in a minute. But you won't experience any events, so you can kind of go to an area, finish a heart, and then feel complete. but you haven't really seen any of the cool stuff. You haven't seen any of the bosses that can pop up. You haven't seen any of the event chains. I think that's a real problem with the game at the moment. But generally, with most of these hearts, you will go there and you will find an event. I guess there's a difference there, really, between whether you're the kind of person that thinks everyone should see all the content, or everyone should see different kinds of events so that they've got interesting things to talk about at a later date. I don't know what we'll come across. We'll see what happens. But all the events do have lasting effects on her. It's like these guys around here, these merchants, these bakers, like this woman here, she says, sorry, I've had to close my shop. I can't get the ingredients I need. We could say, well, what happened? My wheat supplies fields have burned again. I can't make bread until she's back in business. It's quite a headache. That actually is going on. Over there, we'll go to the fields later on, and they'll probably still be on fire, and we can help put them out. If we do, she will get some supply left. There's fishermen that are usually around here, I think, or I think I've seen a fisherman here. All kinds of different things. By helping the people out around here, you do get to affect the world in different ways, and you can get different items. The items are pretty cool as well. Like, you can get consumables that will... I've got 319 health here. You can get a consumable that bumps that up to 400 health for like 10 minutes at a time, and it's pretty cheap to buy as well. The only requirement is that the people of Shaymore around here in these farms are able to produce their stock, which is really, really cool. So we're just going to go and do some events straight away. There's a lot of cool areas, like for instance Shaymore itself up here. There's a really awesome graveyard that I want to show you later, but we'll kind of go there later in the personal story. So we will just keep on going, I guess. There's lots of trainers here. These guys don't come into the storyline until, well, they don't really come into the game until later, as we've leveled up and we've started earning what are known as traits and things like that. So we're just going to continue, go along this and see what happens. I was actually, last night, there were so many people here. It blew my mind. There were loads of ArenaNet employees, loads of people. The game actually started partitioning us into shards, which made it a little bit difficult to find people that we wanted to play with. But it was mad. You couldn't go anywhere without 100 people being around. I shudder to think what the game's going to be like on release. It's going to be absolutely nuts. It's going to be brilliant. But okay, so here's Jeb's wheat field. Isn't this the wheat field that produces the stuff for that woman we just spoke to? In any case, this is one of these places where events can happen. You can see up in the top right hand corner, we've got two things here. This green one, this is for our personal story. So if we want to continue our personal story, we need to help the people around Shaymore. So by that, it means complete one of these heart quests. We're in the location of one of them right now, and we can help farmer deer. So it says help deer by watering corn, stomping worm rounds, feeding cattle, and defending the fields. So essentially what this means is if an event's going on, you'll just get automatic progression for that heart as you complete things in the event. If there are no events going on, you can do other kinds of things around here. Like for instance, that cow looks hungry, so we can get a bag of feed here. This is awesome. You grab a pile of feed out of the bag. Farmer Jed must have some cattle around here that would like this. And we can speak to a brown cow and little hearts come out and you actually feed it. You can see our progress over there on the bar has already gone up. So essentially this is the idea. This is your direction for the game. You're going to be running around doing these kinds of things. I'm sure that there are areas in the game where if a specific event's going on at the moment, because it is beta, there's going to be some way to power level yourself or something. But generally, I've had the feeling that the best way to level up and progress through the game is by going to different areas like this, by exploring and helping people out, which at the end of the day is really what an MMO should be about, right? Exploring and feeling rewarded for doing so. And I think the game's pretty damn good at achieving those ends. We're going to feed a couple of cows. You can actually speak to the woman herself with the heart. Each of these hearts, there's a corresponding NPC that you can speak to who will give you information about it. So we can speak to her and she says, you don't want to be here, trust me. Well, I'm here to help. Well, that's noble of you. I guess you could take a bucket and water the corn for us. Or take some feed to the cattle. Maybe stomp down a few wormholes. Anything you could do to bandit attacks would help too. Why? Is it dangerous around here? If a week goes by where those punks don't try and burn my fields, I count myself lucky. Alright, I'll take your word for it. Last night there was actually a giant worm here, which was pretty damn awesome. So we're going to grab this bucket. And we are going to, I guess, water some of the crops. No, that's a worm out. Oh, these crops over here. During the events that go on here, you can actually water on the hay bales, which the bandits will set on fire and stuff, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so because we picked up a bucket, you'll see that our skills have changed. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's not just what weapons you equip as you go through the game. There's all kinds of different environmental weapons in the game, such as this bucket, that will change your skills. They generally don't give you too many skills from using them. Like, for instance, we've only got one here, which allows us to put out a fire. But there are a lot of very weird things, like you can pick up a rock, and if you're an elementalist, you can like turn that into a meteor, which will slam down on the ground. I'm not sure how many of them have profession-specific changes, but in any case, it is very, very cool little feature that you can do. I generally don't find in combat I enjoy picking up those because I don't like the gamble of what I might find. Why am I trying to water? No, don't water the cow. We need to find some actual more crops. There's not that many crops to water, though, are there? Let's drop the bucket and just feed some more cows, shall we? What you can do, yesterday there was so many people here, we were just continuously feeding the same cow. Like, the cow was just gorging the entire time. It was absolutely brilliant. But come on, keep eating. There you go. Couple more bags of feed. As you can see, progression's really quite quick. I tend to find you do level up very quickly in the game, very, very quickly. We've heard about the game having a flat leveling curve, in that once you reach like level 20 or so, each next level you gain doesn't take significantly longer to get. It's pretty much the same kind of amount of time every single time you gain a new level, which is cool, I guess, but I feel like the time that they settled on to gain another level is very, very short. I can imagine getting to max level and feeling complete with the game, so to speak, very, very quickly. So I would kind of like that to be boosted up, to see that be boosted up later on in the game, but we'll see. This is kind of how beta works. Obviously, we can't play it for very long in beta, so maybe they've just reduced it for this time. Now that we've completed the heart quest, A, we've got some more progression in our personal story, but B, also, this woman now, if we speak to her again, she thanks us for helping us out. She says, oh, hello there, thanks for all your help. Without you, I don't know what we would have done. So this is another way that you can kind of impact the world, make a lasting change. Obviously, this is personal to you. Another character that runs over won't have her say, oh, thank you, because they'll have to complete the heart quest as well. However, it is a lasting change in some form, and I quite like it. So you can get rewards from these people. She says, here, take a look and see what you like. Now, we can buy these rewards in various different ways. You can spend regular in-game gold. You can spend money like that. However, by helping people out and actually participating in the game, you also earn this stuff called karma. That's what we were getting for helping out those villagers right at the start. Karma is an alternative to gold. It's a different currency that you can use. This is these little purple triangles. And it's a pretty cool system. I think it's basically in the game to discourage gold farmers, because people won't be able to buy in-game gold and then just get any item they want in the game. They actually have to play the game for what they're doing, which is really, really cool. Right now we don't have much karma. You can see she's offering us all kinds of different stuff, but we do have enough for a loaf of bread, which will increase our vitality by plus 10 for 30 minutes, so we can buy that. And if we then press I and eat it, you'll see, there you go, plus 10 vitality. I think every point of vitality equals 10 health. I think that's how it works. So we've just literally got a whole load more health for 10 minutes, which is pretty cool. Let's do a couple more heart quests. When I said at the start of this marathon, like, it's not even been an hour really, has it? But when I said earlier that we're going for 100% completion, what I mean is we are going to be getting every single heart quest in the areas. In addition to that, there are other things that you can do. Obviously, the game isn't just about running around with heart quests. Admittedly, as I said earlier, I don't think that there's an amazing amount of direction in the game right now. But there is more than the heart quest, definitely. If we press M, we can have a look at the map. And this is very exciting. I can't wait to show you guys that love the lore of this. But basically, here's our map, of course. And you can see here on the left, we get completion for the whole world. Right now we're on 0%. The world at the moment has 657 heart quests. Bear in mind, that doesn't mean dynamic events. Every single heart quest can have a whole chain of events associated with it if you're there at the right time. So when they said originally that, hey, there's 1,500 events in the game, that's probably true, because let's just assume each heart quest has got only 3 events associated with it. Then there you go, you've already tripled 650. You're way over that mark. However, you've got the heart quest. You've also got waypoints. I intend to find all of the waypoints in every single area we can get to. And you've also got points of interest. 793 of these are in the game at the moment. And I'm going to be finding every single one of those too, in addition to points of interest. Points of interest are just small areas that have got cool little things for you to see, like this farm, for instance. We'll be finding... Some of them can be very hidden, little, awesome places. There are some hidden, awesome little places that aren't actually marked as point of interest either. So there's a bit of a mixed bag of what a point of interest is, but they're generally the really cool places that we can go to see. Also, there are skill challenges. Those are what you get for skill. Those are what you will want to complete for skill points, which then let you get more skills. I'll talk about that system later on. But that's what I mean by 100% completion. We're going to be finding all of that stuff. And I already know what all of it is, so we can actually have some decent direction. Instead of me running around like a headless chicken the entire time. We actually just got a bronze reward for helping out in the field there. So it turns out there was a dynamic event. Oh, the giant worm, no! Okay, there was a dynamic event over there where a giant worm popped up in the field. Damn! But we missed it. But because we had killed some worms while we were around there, we actually got progress for helping out there, which is really cool, which means that you can be rewarded for no matter how little you've actually helped out. It was only a bronze reward. If we'd stayed around and actually played the game a bit more over there, we would have got gold or silver, which would have given us more rewards, which would have been awesome. But still, I think it's really cool that you can you can do something, walk off, and because you've helped out in however insignificant of a way, because you've helped out over there, you will get some kind of a a token for it, which is really, really awesome. We're going to come up here to the pump station. There's not that much going on around here. This pump station's got a load of dynamic events going on around it that involve the bandits poisoning the water up here. You'll see a big pool of water in a second, and if they poison it, it can poison all of the sprinklers that are being used on the fields, those sprinklers down there, and as a result of that, it can stop people being able to sell food, and it can cause blobs of ooze and horrible toxic things to appear all over the place. It really does change a lot of different things. There's nothing going on here at the moment, but I did want to come here just to show you guys, because it is a one of the points of interest, which is pretty awesome. There's actually a really cool mill here, this mill. I remember when the first trailer of the game came out, we saw this mill and I was like, oh, that looks so amazing. And I remember on the forum we were talking about it, and I kind of had this image in my head of being able to go inside the mill and sort of sit around in an upstairs room, a dusty, dim upstairs room, and sort of watch the world go by through a window as the windmill was actually spinning past. And that was so clear in my head, but I always kind of thought, that won't be in game. That's it's probably just going to be a prop. You won't be able to go in there. There won't be anything interesting in there. Even if you can, it will probably just be an empty room. Well, this isn't a point of interest, but I'm going to show you guys all the awesome stuff I found. You can go in there. The entrance is actually up there on that slope. Is there a guy? Can you speak to these workers? A lot of the NPCs don't have interesting things to say to you. They'll just be like, oh, hello. But there are also, believe me, there are a lot of different NPCs that have got cool stuff to say. So you can actually come up in here, and I believe some of them are in here. Another worker.
Can I help you?
And we can go into the doors to the mill, which is really awesome. There's so much stuff in here. From all the personal storyline stuff I've done so far, there's no part of the personal storyline that tells you to come in here, and there's no dynamic events that take place in here either. So as a result, you get a lot of really awesome places like this that, honestly, because there's so many of them around, end up feeling a little bit hollow, because it's like, oh, this place is so amazing, look at all the little things here, but there's nothing to do here. And that really is something we're going to be seeing a lot as we go through. It's my feeling of it. I'm not going to bang on about it too much, but a lot of it will feel hollow. I'm sure that this is just because it's the beta, and these areas haven't got as much content in them as ArenaNet want them to have in the end of the game. But the sheer amount of areas like this that are in the game, it's like the actual map designs are amazing. They're really, really, really well done, and it all looks so beautiful. But a lot of it feels very hollow and empty because there's not much to do, not much reason to go to these places. So I don't know what that says about how long till the game actually releases, considering there are so many areas like this, but we'll have to have a look. Something's blocking me from going over there. There is more than this actually up here. Last time I was here, we could go upstairs. Yeah, look up there. We'll go up there, and it's just very, very cool. There's look, oh no, that was our Drake. I thought that was another player there. These are the kinds of areas I think it would be amazing to be able to walk around, and then you'll just stumble upon another player. Like right up in the top room up here, there's a little bed, and there are actually a lot of cool emotes in this game that weren't in Guild Wars 1. Like for example, when we come up here. And I was seriously tempted to do this when I first found this place. No matter how much I was enjoying the game. There's a little cat on the bed, that's ridiculous. No matter how much I was enjoying the game, I kind of just wanted to come up here. And you can actually type /sleep on this game. And there's a sleeping emote, and that's not too radical for MMOs, I guess. But we can sleep with our head on the cat up here. And I just thought, hey, I could just sleep up here and just wait for someone to find me. And that would just be an awesome little way to meet someone. But yeah, there's just so many of these little places, but not much to do in them. There is a book there. The game does have real text in it, like as in a real fictional in-game language. It's not so much a language as it is a cipher. It's just an alphabet with different symbols. But it is there. It was always one of my plans to actually learn it. It's called New Crichton. That's not the only language that's in the game, but that's the most prominent one. That's the one that most of the races speak. So you'll see a lot of signs around. In fact, there were a few earlier. What I was talking about with editing in little tips and stuff, there'll probably be translations of the different things that I can find as we go through so you guys can read it. But they are all over the place, and you can learn the language and you can read in it. I think it would be really cool if you could type in the language as well, but that's not actually something you can do, so... we'll just kill some worms. We really need to get moving to another heart quest, don't we? So what we're going to do is go over to... oh no, I don't want to go to a Ranger Meppy. That's a little bit of a harder quest. I think it actually gives you a level range. You see that little 5 there on the top right-hand corner? Kill bandits and destroy their supplies in the caverns. That range tells you kind of what level you should be when you're around there. Owing to the fact that, as I said, when things scale up, they don't necessarily get much more dangerous. If there's a lot of players around, is that a dead player or a dead... it's a dead NPC. Owing to the fact that there's always a lot of players around, or there were yesterday at the very least, I tend to find that you can go way out of your level range, and generally the world is quite free and you can do whatever you want. So instead we're going to come over here. This is a more level appropriate zone. And we're going to assist Farmer Ida. And to do this, we need to drive bats and spiders from the orchard and smash spider egg sacks. There's also an event going on here, which involves us collecting apples for her famous pies. This event was going on the other day, and I wasn't actually sure where... Oh, yeah, okay, so we'll just go over to the apple trees. And this is an example of what you can do. You can break the tree, I guess, or hit the tree, and you can get an apple. So you can keep picking up the apple. These essentially are going to be like quest items. If you press I, you can actually see them in there, shiny red apples. You can grab as many as you want. There's actually a problem with these collection quests that ArenaNet have got around quite cleverly. You see how we need a certain amount of apples, and the more we give to her, my contribution's currently 0, so we'll come over and give it to this farmhand here.
Nice to see you.
And he says, with Ida's husband gone, it's fallen on my shoulders to get the apples harvest in. I can't stand spiders, though. Think you can lend a hand. Right, so we can say, yeah, here, take all my apples. Thanks. After this, you should stay for pie. Okay, sure. So our contribution's 2, and you saw that the bar went up. Now, there is something that's kind of a problem here. What you could do is spend your entire time picking up apples, and then other players go and give their apples to the guy, and then say someone hands in like 20 at once. That's automatically going to end the event, right? And you haven't given any apples in, so you won't have contributed to the event, so you might not get any rewards for it. So what they did was quite clever. When you have handed in, let's say somebody does hand in 20 different things. We've actually got a stick here, a tree branch as well. This is a dynamic, this is an environmental weapon, as you can see. We've actually got it, and we've got different skills now. So we can smack our enemy with a branch, which may cause it to break, or we can definitely break it on the enemy's face and do a lot of damage. So let's go over to this spider here, shall we? And smash our branch on their face. And that's also acts as a gap closer as well, which is really cool. But yeah, so what they've done is, what happens is, say somebody does throw 20 in there straight away all at once, it will give you a timer. It will give you, depending on how many players are in the area, a certain amount of time to get all of your apples handed in, even though they're not necessarily needed for the event to complete. But in that way, you will have contributed in some way, and you will still get rewards for it. In case, say, there were 2 people who had 40 apples each, one of them gets there first. That's kind of how they've dealt with it, which I think is quite clever. It's quite cool. I definitely think it's pretty awesome. As you can see, by participating in the event, just running around hitting these trees, our heart quest is going up as well. So it all feeds into itself. There's no requirement for the heart quests, and this is a requirement I think I'd like to see. There's no requirement for the heart quests for you to have to have completed an event in the area. I think, let's say there are 3 events. Let's just kind of stick with that for as we're going through this. Let's say there are 3 events for every single heart quest. I think there should be, and as you can see, the spiders actually drop apples as well. So you kill spiders, you get progression for the heart quest, and then you get apples, which gives you progression for the dynamic event, which is really cool. But I think that the heart quest should require completion of... Oh, look, here we go. This is exactly what's happened. You see here, I've got a load of apples, but the somebody's handed loads in and it's ended. I've now got 13 seconds. That's not actually much time to get the hell over here and give them my apples as well. So my contribution's higher and I get more than a bronze reward. So here you go. Now we have contributed 10 apples, which is pretty good. So the event ends and we get gold completion, which we might not have got before. They always come up with a pretty cool story excuse for why that time is there. It's like, oh hey, yeah, I'm just going to wait around for a while, or if it's an NPC that moves around, or it's going to be something like he was baking pies, stuff like that. But yeah, I think that there should be a requirement to get this point out of at least one event being completed. I know why ArenaNet haven't done that. They haven't done it because they think, hey, sometimes there are areas where there are no events going on at all, and players are just going to get frustrated standing around the whole time. But I don't think players are so stupid they'll just stand there constantly waiting. I think that if there is no event and you appreciate that you've filled your progress bar but you're just one event away, you can leave, go work on a different heart, and then come back at a later date. I really don't see the problem there. I don't think it's a massive issue. And the amount of content that players will potentially miss, because they will very quickly get into, and this happened to me and this happened to a lot of people I've spoken to, you get into the mindset, right, just go to this heart, go to this heart, go to this heart, because you want the experience for them and you don't care so much about the events. But the events are supposed to be the bread and butter of the content. You could miss out on a hell of a lot of the awesome stuff. So I think just adding at least that in would go a long way to helping the game. But yeah, we'll finish off this event here. This particular one, I tend to find smashing the spider nests and then not killing the spiders that come out of them, just running off, is the quickest way to complete the event, because you get a lot of points for just smashing the sacks and then just leaving, and other players are usually around and they can help out. Of course, if you're alone, if you're playing the game like months after release and nobody's around, then hey, that might not be so viable. But then again, balance has probably changed a lot by that point. Just a couple more, I guess. Yeah, this is exactly what I do. I'm sure I piss people off a little bit by just spawning spiders all over the place, but whatever. I guess I could talk a little bit more about the skill system, actually. Here you can see on the right, we've got another skill here, skill 6 on the right-hand side. These skills on the right aren't determined by the weapon of your choosing. These are called utility skills. One of them will be an elite skill. This is your one on the far right. That's the last skill you unlock at level 30. But you always have skill 6. Skill 6 is always a healing skill. This is to ensure that all players are on a certain baseline. In the first game, in Guild Wars 1, build making was a huge part of the game. But it was very, very easy to make a crappy build that sucked, and you could screw over other players, and generally by the time the game got old, nobody really wanted to play in pickup groups anymore, because if you just met random people, there's a good chance that they wouldn't have decent stuff. So Guild Wars 2 is forcing everyone to have some kind of way of keeping themselves alive, some kind of decent skill combination on their first 5, and some kind of elite skill in there, which is a good idea. A lot of people are upset about build customization. I did a video on that a while ago. Just on that topic alone, you could talk about it for hours. I think that the new system's pretty good. There is still a lot of build customization. There's definitely stuff to do with your equipment and things. There's not that much depth, though. Before playing this, I thought that there would be more depth than there is. But this is another example of an area that I'm sure I'll talk about as we continue going through, that I think there could be more. I definitely think that there could be more. Like, for example, you don't get to put points in your attributes as you level up. I've been leveling up. I'm level 3. Leveling up doesn't really feel that rewarding. I've got to be honest. And, you know, MMOs, I think that's something that should be very rewarding. It doesn't feel that rewarding, partly due to the way that the game scales, which I'll talk about later, but also due to the fact you don't really get that feeling of, oh, yeah, I want to have more precision. I want to have more health. You don't really get that. It's not there. You do, after level 10, get to put points into things called traits. We'll get to that when we reach level 10, though. So there we go, we finally completed this, and now we can speak once again to the person with the heart quest. And she says, "Do you like my orchard? The apples we harvest here make for delicious pies. My husband used to harvest apples before he passed away." Oh, very sad. Yeah, if you speak to her before this, she talks about how her husband died, and now she's kind of left alone. Pie? I like pie. Can I have one? Of course, you've been a great help around here. You're more than welcome to a slice or two. So, now we've got a bit more karma, because we've been participating in a few more things. We can get a measuring spoon, which is an accessory which we can equip. We need level 4 for it, but hey, I guess we can pick it up anyway. We can actually buy apples, which are ingredients if you're a cook. This is to do with crafting. You can also buy a recipe, which is very much to do with the crafting system. If you think about how Minecraft crafting works, and then imagine Minecraft had notes you could find around the world that told you specifically what order you had to put certain things in to create items. Bam, there you go. That's basically what the recipes are. And you can get recipes for completing events and buying them for karma or gold. No, a lot of items in the game you can't actually spend gold on. These you can. Of course, that's going to cost you 4 silver. We've only got 1 silver at the moment. I actually find money's really easy to get in the game as well. I think it's pretty damn easy to get, but we'll see how much we end up getting before the end. But yeah, we can also get a nutmeg seed. That's again crafting. Or we can get a slice of pie, which will increase our power by plus 20. But we can't afford it. Damn, that's a shame. Power is an attribute that will just make you do more damage. The attributes are very simple. They are very clearly defined. I like the idea of them being simple and clearly defined, because I think that a lot of games have a lot of unnecessary bloat with attributes. So I'm not sad to see them go, but it is another example of the game having... It's something people will call dumbed down. I don't necessarily think it's dumbed down. It doesn't really come into it, particularly when you don't even specifically put points into attributes. At least you kind of do through traits. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But there isn't that many attributes. I'm not sure how that's going to affect stats on weapons. Like in a lot of games, gear is interesting because it can affect all kinds of different attributes and different things like that. Gear variety does seem quite cool. There are various different things you can upgrade them with, like insignias and stuff, that the more of them you have, the more effective the overall abilities that they grant you, the overall stats that they give you are. There are some interesting dynamics there. I don't think the lack of attributes has really hurt the game too much, but again, these are things really you have to put into context. Like, there's people like me, we've not really been in the game at a level 80 for ages and ages and ages, right? Which is what most of the players, when the game's out at launch, are going to be. So our perceptions of how this is all going to wind out don't really work so well. It's like trying to talk about RPGs and talking about how they scale in the end, you know, like how people were talking about Skyrim. These things you just don't know until you've played for a really long time. But these are generally my first impressions. I think they're pretty accurate so far. Anyway, we're over at another area. We're going to help out Foreman Flannum. If you guys are familiar with ArenaNet, a lot of their staff are actually being named after in the game. So Foreman Flannum, Eric Flannum, one of the lead developers for the game, is actually being referenced here in-game, which I think is really, really cool. He's the guy we'll speak to for the Heart Quest. Let's actually speak to him first. This is something interesting as well. It automatically adds the Heart Quest to you. I wouldn't mind seeing that we had to speak to the NPC, because a lot of people go on with this game. They say, oh, it's so good that you can just run around doing whatever and you automatically get completion. There's really not much that you have to do. You can just run around fighting stuff. And I don't know, I feel like the game loses some depth somewhere along the line where everything is just so streamlined. Like, literally, you can just walk in an area, not speak to anyone, not have any context of what's going on, just kill stuff and then leave and feel like you've completed stuff. I think you're missing out, especially when they've written so much dialogue for the game, for all these different NPCs. You know, dialogue like this, once we've completed the Heart Quest, we won't be able to see again. He's just going to keep thanking us for helping out. So he says, got a minute, I'm in over my head here, I could use some help. Fancy taking down a few harpies or helping out around the dam? What about harpies? They nest on top of the dam. If they stayed here, I'd have no problem, but the stupid buzzards fly down and scare my workers. If you see any harpies, get rid of them. Alright, well, how else can I help? On top of the harpy infestation, we've got small leaks to seal, rock slides to clear, and elementals that pester my workers and need to be driven off. Okay, alright, tell me about the harpy problem. We've already heard that. So the dialogue system's okay. Sometimes you will ask a question, you think you'll learn something new, but you probably won't. But there we go. So this is kind of what's going on here. For the Heart Quest, you do get different things you can interact with, like these elementals. You can scatter them and then kill them. There are leaks in the dam that you can plug up. And then, obviously, if there's an event going on, there's an event here where loads of harpies from the top of the dam just come down and start assaulting everyone. The workers can't work anymore, and then again that affects services in other areas of the map, and people will start running around asking for your help and things. We should see that. You will be wandering around like in a cave or something. Well, not necessarily in a cave, but you'll be just kind of aimlessly walking around the world, and all of a sudden, oh hey, look! Somebody's run over to you and they're asking for your help, and you can speak to them and it will mark a dynamic event on your map and you can just run on over there. It's really, really quite cool. I've just noticed we've got skill 4. This is Hunter's Call. Obviously, now these two skills reflect the fact we've got a Warhorn, so they'll affect that. So we can use Hunter's Call, breathe in it, and we can summon a load of birds to eat someone's face. Oh, that's brilliant. I remember seeing that on the skill videos when the profession was first released, but that actually did a hell of a lot of damage as well. You'll notice weapon skills have got pretty fast recharges on them. That's because in this game, the utility skills tend to have longer recharges, while the weapon that you're using is really the thing that defines what you're doing in combat most. I wouldn't say that utility skills are necessarily fluff or insignificant to the combat. That's definitely not true. It's just that the majority of time you'll be working on trying to make sure your weapon skills, you're being very efficient with how those are being used, and the utility skills are more game-changing moments. Or there are exceptions though, of course. I mean, as an elementalist, you get signets that will always change how you're acting in the battle. Like, they'll give you passive effects like making you move faster or giving you random chances to get different conditions and stuff like that. But yeah, I really like this skill too as well. That seems to do a lot of damage. What you just saw me get there, by the way, was a daily achievement. A little chest spawned on my feet and I got to open it up. There are different daily achievements for different kinds of things. If we look here, this is our hero panel. This is where all the achievements are listed. These are kind of the long-term things, if you're only playing PvE in the game, that you'll be working on. These are all these kinds of things. So you get daily achievements, okay, so, and they have different tiers. So for instance, I've already earned tier 3, because I was playing a little bit last night. I've already earned tier 3 of this, or we just got tier 3. When we reach 60 kills, we'll get another chest, and so on. But you get stuff for daily teamwork and all kinds of different things like this that will give you bonuses. This is to help out players that maybe can't play for hours and hours and hours every day, and will help them keep at roughly the same level as their friends. Not that that matters so much in this game, because their friends can always come down to the areas where lower level friends are and still get appropriate rewards and content that's scaled to their taste, which is quite cool. But this is still a system they've got. There are also monthly achievements, which are just massive goals for people to go to that change every month. There have been a lot of games. I remember I played a lot of Halo Reach and they had a system very similar to this, which was very cool. I think they had weekly, actually. There's no weekly in Guild Wars 2. Then you also get permanent achievements, which are like fixtures that will constantly be there. And these are things that you can display for prestige if you get really high on them. So you can get Slayer achievements for killing a certain amount of lots of different of a certain NPC faction. So for instance, we've killed 96 out of 100 of anything. I think this is If small things were meant to live, they'd have bigger teeth or faster feet. Now, this is for killing tiny little things like little bugs and frogs and fireflies and stuff. So I've killed 96 of those. We'll get another achievement when we get 100. And they keep scaling up. They've all got tiers. So it's a very cool system. I hope that a lot of these achievements will have very high caps, because obviously the higher the cap, the longer people are going to be playing the game, the more prestigious earning those rewards are going to be. Yes, it does encourage a little bit of grind, but at the end of the day, this is cosmetic stuff. It's not necessarily indicative of how fun the gameplay experiences overall. So I'm very much in favour of very, very high caps on those. And there's all kinds of different types. Like you've got hero for PvP stuff, you've got PvP conqueror, you've got tradesman for crafting, explorer stuff, loads and loads and loads. Hall of Monuments, if you played the first game, you can unlock rewards to do with the Hall of Monuments. It's disabled at the moment. And so on like that. Anyway, come on, let's keep on helping out Foreman Flannan. You can expand or unexpand, I guess is the word, these things here for the heart quests, if you really want, if you don't like a lot of UI clutter. I've got my UI quite small at the moment. We're playing in 1080p. I'll probably go down to 720 just because this is a lot of space to be taking up on my hard drive, and if we're going to be playing for 12 hours, like, it would be terabytes upon terabytes if I was to do that, and I've only got like 3 to fill up, so we will be going. It shouldn't make too much of a difference, but I did kind of want to start the game off looking at its best, shall we say. So there is that. There's a mail system I should talk about soon as well, but we'll help out Foreman Flannan, in fact. And then I think I'm gonna, actually take a quick break while we sort out the resolution, make sure that all of this commentary's gone through, everything's fine. If it hasn't, I'll be very upset because... Oh, wait, is this actually the event? It is. Oh, this is the harpy flock that's come down from the dam. You can see here you got young harpy morale. It's at 80%. See, now this is something interesting as well. We've completed the heart quest, okay? So is there going to be a point for players where all they want to do is get the heart quests? They do this and then an event starts and they think, oh, well, fuck it, I've already completed the event. Again, I've already completed the heart. Another reason why I think that a lot of these events should be a requirement. Just one event, be a requirement of completing these things. The events are quite common. There is always something to do. I do feel like some of these heart quests, there could be more events around. But hey, who knows? ArenaNet are probably going to be adding loads more events as they go through. Obviously, these are the starting areas. These are the areas that they think are ready for beta. So that does say something about what they think the game's going to be like at the end. So I don't know how much we can expect to change. I'm not going to sit here the entire time and say, oh, it will change before release, the game's going to be amazing. I'm just going to say my genuine opinions of what I think the game's going to be like as it goes through. Because at the end of the day, this is something that they're happy to be showing everyone. We can't say, oh, it's just unfinished for every little thing, I don't think. Anyway, we completed this heart quest. You get different bits of feedback for personal story quests. You get it for completing renown hearts. You get it for completing events. When I first started playing, I found it difficult to identify the distinction between the heart quests and dynamic events. And I think that's something that a lot of players will experience for a while. But definitely once you get into like the 20s range, that's kind of when things will start to change for you. And you'll start to realise, hey, really it's only the heart quests I'm interested in. It's not to say that the dynamic events don't offer nice experience and gold rewards, but that is all they reward. I haven't seen any unique rewards coming from events. It's always from completing heart quests that you get unique stuff, that you get the karma and stuff like that. I get the feeling that the heart quests, the renown system, was meant to be something for if you've done loads of stuff and completed loads of events in a certain area. And on its initial implementation, it was supposed to be a reward for having done loads of stuff, but now it's kind of taken an opposite turn. It's just, oh, events are a little bit of fluff to go alongside you while you're getting the hearts. Maybe it's something to do with how completionist a lot of players are. I don't know, but that's generally my feeling of how it's going. Foreman Flannan, so how do we find that? It was fun. We could plug leaks, I guess. We could scatter elementals. What else could we do? We couldn't do that much else, I guess. We could kill things. When I judge how good a heart quest is, I tend to think, right, well, what was it that distinguishes it from other heart quests that are going on, right? Because the game needs to feel unique. You need to feel like something's different because you've just played it this time to all the other stuff that's going on there. So yeah, alright, I would say they're pretty fun and very easy. I mean, judging difficulty of heart quests isn't something that's very easy to do, I think, because they're not tied to events. You could, in theory, very easily just feed that cow the whole time. And is that hard? Maybe we could talk about grind a little bit. I didn't find this grindy at all, so yeah. yeah, we have driven the harpy flock from the dam. Got our reward. So I've already talked about karma now. So for completing dynamic events, this is what you get. You get experience, lots of experience that's displayed in this bar down here at the bottom. It's funny, they segment the experience bar like they do in other MMOs, but because, as I said earlier, you level up pretty damn quick in this game, I tend to think this is completely unnecessary. I rarely look and think, oh, I've just gained another 16th or anything. It just doesn't happen. But yeah, we also get karma, 32 karma there, and we get a few bits of coins. In addition to this, every time you complete a heart quest, you get mail from people who thank you later on. I get the feeling this is a little bit like what you kind of see in games like Mass Effect, where you help someone out and then later on you just get mail from someone. It will be people thanking you. The dialogue that you get from them is generally very generic. I am massively into the lore of this game. Massively. If you know about my channel, I am just a huge fan of it, and I really care about it. But even I find that I'm skimming through these bits of dialogue here. They really do not have that much information in them. It's nearly always the same kind of thing. Again, do we say that it's because it's beta and they haven't had a chance to really write some fleshed out stuff? I don't know, but there is a reason to read them. This guy says, thanks for your help at the dam. I hadn't supported so much as our leak since you came through here. If you ever get tired of the hero business, come on down. My work crew could use skills such as yours. There is a reason to read this, because you can get gold from these. The people actually send you mail with another reward. So this is kind of one of your other rewards for completing heart quests, in addition to the initial experience you get and the ability to purchase unique rewards from that vendor. So you can hit take all from the reward, and then you can delete the message, and you can do this with a lot. You were a big help in the orchard today. Place means everything to me, so you're taking the time to give me a hand meant a lot. If you're ever in the mood for apple pie, stop in for a slice, and so on. She gave us a whole silver there. There's just lots of different things like this. I will read out some interesting things, I guess. You also get mail to do with your personal story, which we're going to go and continue in a minute. So this guy, after we finished the first heart quest, he said, this is Lord Farron. This is the guy that we were told had been to see us while we were unconscious. He says, greetings, old friend. As soon as you managed to drag your heroic behind out of that sick bed, your presence is requested, nay, demanded, back at your home in Divinity's Reach. And if you want, come home without telling that dazzling priestess of Dwayna what a fine fellow I am. I will take it as a personal affront. Until we meet again, I remain your handsomest, most charming, and most humble companion. Okay, so this guy sounds like a bit of a dick. Again, I haven't done this part of the personal stories. This should be quite fun. We'll go see that. We'll see Divinity's Reach. Like I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to drop this back down to 720p. I hope you guys enjoyed the start of this. I was really nervous about starting this, and kind of hoping I wasn't tripping over my words too much. There's a lot to come, a hell of a lot to come. I'm not stopping here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video or videos. I'll probably do them in half-an-hour segments, and I hope to see you guys next time for the personal story and our look at Divinity's Reach, which, let me tell you, is fucking awesome.